All right. Another fallacy with forgiveness, or something that is not understood with forgiveness, is grief. Because when you forgive the person and say that you can no longer have a relationship with them, you have various levels of grief that you must process. Many people skip the grief processing phase. They think, hey, I've forgiven the person, I've moved on, and they don't actually take time to understand what that relationship meant, what they are losing, especially if this is like a family member. It's much easier when it's a co-worker than it is someone that you have lifelong bonds with, a family member, a partner, a child. So people often don't grieve appropriately. They don't give themselves a chance to heal from it. They don't take the time to write out what it is that they miss, or they will miss, or they anticipate changing because that relationship is no longer there. So then at some point in the future, when they are grieving the relationship, then that whole forgiveness or lack of forgiveness comes up. And you cannot truly forgive if you do not go through the grieving process. The grieving process is a healing process. So if you break up with someone and you broke up with the person under horrible conditions, right? Some people grow apart in relationships. They've been married for 30 years. They decide we're just different people. We're going to remain friends. Nothing traumatic happens. They just wake up one day and say, I'm not in love with you. That's different. They're still able to maintain a relationship. They may grieve waking up to that person each day. They may grieve going on certain trips with that person every year. And once they accept or realize they can have a new relationship and a new traveling with the individual under new circumstances, if they choose that, life is different. But other people break up in relationships and family relationships, not just sexual. We're talking about mother daughter, father son, sister sister, sister brother, cousin cousin, those type of relationships. Sometimes the breakup occurs after a traumatic event, such as a huge argument over something, and or a physical fight that happens in families, or political beliefs, right? And then you were accustomed to doing certain things with that person prior to the event. And afterwards, when a potential event comes up, the first thing you want to do is call that person. So then you get a sense of sadness and a sense of regret because you can't call that person. And you have to take time to grieve that loss, right? The good part of the relationship, because many relationships are filled with both good and bad, or else you wouldn't stay, you know. And when the people who are abused physically, I hear them say, oh, but when they were good, they were like the best. They would take me to all these places, right? Or we had so much fun traveling, but they were having to wear makeup to cover up the black eyes. Okay? So you must take the time to grieve the loss of whatever relationship that comes or no longer comes into play after you've gone through this big, oh, I forgive them. I forgave them years ago, right? But my question is, did you grieve them? And this is where I say to people, I have grieved many people who are still alive. They're amongst the living. But I have grieved the loss of the relationship because I had to understand that I could no longer have the relationship that I once had. That it was such a big part of my life and brought me joy on many levels. But I could no longer have that relationship because I could not sacrifice myself in order to be in the relationship. Okay? All right. Be well.